If you are trying to figure out life, I understand. I wish someone gave me a guide when I was young and told me how to live. I was always troubled by the idea that no one ever gave me this guide. How should I think? What's my purpose? This was me when I was young in the middle. I was a child, and I remember I always used to approach my mom and ask her, how should I think? What should I do when I grow up? What's my purpose? And she gave me no answers. She was always pissed when I asked her this question. She never liked it. I got no answers. And then I grew up more, and I'm still asking the same questions. I remember I used to sit with my friends, and we used to debate the same ideas. What should we do? How should we think? And no one had any answer for me. I didn't know what was the truth. I thought this was going to be the path of my life. I thought it was going to be linear and straightforward and very clear. And whenever someone asked me, what do you want to become? I always had no answer for that. I didn't know what I want to do. All I knew is I was good at art, so I remember my father came to me and told me, since you know how to draw, how to sketch, maybe you can become an architect. And so I did. I studied architecture for 5 years, and I started then doing things like these. And so art led me to architecture. This was the first link I found in my life. But then I started becoming interested in 3D modeling and visualizing buildings. And so architecture led me to visualization. I started doing things like these. So I'm starting to find new links in my life. And then suddenly I became interested in furniture design and product design, and I started doing things like these from cardboard and wood. But then I started reading more and getting more educated. And I started becoming interested in philosophy. And the next thing I knew, I started writing. Well, I was a very bad writer when I look back then. I never thought I would be a good writer. But the more I read, the more I felt I have ideas in my head I want to express. So I started writing, and I wrote a book. So reading led me to writing. The more I read, the more I started becoming interested in philosophy. And philosophy led me to business. Why? Because I wanted to share this information with the world. I wanted to invite the world to the ideas I read in books, great books. And business was one way to do that. Because businesses can influence people. So I came to Japan to study business and embark on a new journey. And the more I study business, the more I find a connection between business and psychology. Because businesses know the human mind, because they want to sell to people. They know how people think. Facebook knows that because we always come back to Facebook because of these little cute red notifications. Amazon knows psychology too, because we are always drawn back to go back to Amazon because of the ratings and the reviews and the discounts. And it also translates in architecture. Because when we look at a building like this with so many details, it shows majesty. So it works in our psychology too. So these, when I look back in hindsight, these are the links I find in my life. Art led me to architecture, and then architecture led me to visualization, product design, and so on. And then business led me to psychology. I started to find links in my life. And remember, I used to think this was going to be my life, but it turned out to be something like this. It was very unpredictable, not clear, not straightforward. And I started doing things totally different from the things I did before. I started finding links. So it was almost like my unique DNA, my path, my journey in life. And so is yours. You have your own unique DNA, your own journey in life, and your own set of skills that you can link together. So whenever someone asks me, what do you like? It's very hard to answer that question, because the more I find connection between things, the more I like more things. Now I appreciate every experience in my life because I know the importance of every little experience. It might connect with something else in the future and lead me to something totally different. So my realization was that everything is connected. Everything is connected. So I started embracing every little experience because I realized that everything is connected again. And I started becoming. I'm always becoming. I'm sensing that I'm always experiencing more. I'm always creating a new self, so I'm always becoming. So the problem today is the world is open. We have the internet and so many opportunities. We fear of missing out. So many things we can do. How should we choose and decide our life, our future? So many things we can do and so little time, right? We fear missing out. But remember, everything is connected. So I thought that my life would be like this, right? Linear and clear. But when I understood that everything is connected, I understood that doors of opportunities from the back are connected. So when we choose one thing, one door of opportunity to open, it may lead to something else in the future. With that realization, I no longer fear choosing one path because I might connect it with something else and it might lead to something else. Now, why are we losing connections? Why is it hard for us to decipher and connect events in our life and things we like? Well, it is because of noise. Noise from society. Society tells us how to dress, how to walk, how to act. And parents also tell us how to act and how to wear our clothes and what to do and what not to do. And also media. So many external influences are influencing us and telling us what to do. And it acts as a barrier between what we actually want from the inside and what we actually do. There's a huge shield of noise coming from the external world that doesn't allow us to do what we truly want. So we do something we don't truly want, and we end up being unhappy. Remember when we were children, we used to be very curious. We used to ask a lot of questions. Why does the airplane? How does the airplane fly? Why does the moon follow us? All these questions we used to ask them, but when we grew up, we stopped asking questions because society expected us to have answers. We stopped being curious. So the truth is, no one knows. This is a very good truth that I realized, an important truth that I realized. Now, I wish someone told me that when I was a child. Like, no one knows. No one has a guide for you. No one has a leader for you. That you have to decide and you have to create your own truth in life. With that realization, I figured out that I should create my own truth and I should write my own guide. So I started returning to myself and create my own truth. And my last connection was psychology led me to nature. Why nature? Because when you zoom out of Earth to space, from that vantage point, this is who we are now. We are one little dot. A pale blue dot, they call it. This is Japan, and this is my country, Lebanon. We are all united in this one dot. Because there are no boundaries there. There are no flags there. From the vantage point of space, we are a dot. So I started always to remind myself to dare to experiment outside the borders of my culture. To always learn, and most importantly, unlearn. If I consume bad information in the past, I can edit it and I can change it. I always remind myself to assume nothing, take nothing for granted, and always question everything. Why do I have 5 fingers? Why do I have 2 feet? How do I walk? Question every little detail in my life and take nothing for granted. So, to find our own truth, we have to start connecting experiences in our life to find what we want, what we truly want. So we have to experience more. And in my opinion, if we want to experience more, we have to break fear. This is the problem. If we were able to break fear and stop being afraid, we can experiment more, and we can connect more, and we can find what we truly want. I love this quote by Alexander the Great. He said, throughout every generation of the humankind, there has been a constant war, a war with fear. A constant war, a war with fear. Those who have the courage to defeat it are made free. But those who are conquered by it are made to suffer until death takes them or they defeat it. So our only war is an internal war, and it's a war with fear. If we were able to defeat it, we can find our own truth, our own answers. So I always ask myself, how can I be less afraid? I don't want to be afraid. How can I be less afraid? And I always remind myself that rejection is always, always better than regret. It's okay for me to get rejected, for people to tell me no. Why? Because rejection is okay. It's better than regretting it in the future and saying, no, I wish I did that. I always remind myself that rejection will only hurt me, will only sting for 1 minute, but regret will last my whole life. I will regret something for my whole life that I didn't do it. So, this is a reminder for me. I don't want to be afraid. So always ask, and don't be afraid. Remember, rejection only stings for a minute, but regret lasts a whole lifetime. I love this quote also by Robert Kiyosaki. He's a Japanese-American businessman. And he says, when it comes to life and money, people always like to play it safe because they like to be secure, to feel secure. So they are not directed by passion, they are directed by fear. Fear guides them, not passion. So always ask, and stay curious, and be passionate about what you do. If you don't know what you want to do, find it. Experience more. This was me, yes, a few years later. And what changed in this picture is I decided that I'm going to find my own truth, because no one has a guide for me. I'm going to build my own guide. So I decided to find my own truth. So always dare to experiment outside the borders of your culture. Learn and unlearn. Assume nothing, and always question everything. Thank you very much.